From the American Bankers Association, this is the ABA Partner Network podcast. This episode is brought to you by Quint Financial Technologies. I'm Lottie Watts, and I'm Senior Director of Content Strategy for the ABA Partner Network. I'm joined by Edgar Zoltak, Associate Vice President of Strategic Solutions for Quint Financial Technologies. Edgar, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Lottie. Pleasure to be here.
Well, we are excited to talk with you because fraud is a growing concern and combating financial fraud is a top priority for banks of all sizes. When we look at how to tackle fraud and disputes across a variety of transaction types, especially in this era of digital and faster payments, how do you think financial institutions can manage claims?
Yeah, it's a great question, Lottie. Faster payments are continuing to surge in the U.S., so financial institutions are going to continue to face these challenges, and managing claims efficiently while maintaining that high level of service is going to be key. So right now, about 80% of FIs are sending instant payments and 40% are receiving them. I would say the challenge right now, the current challenge, is balancing speed and security, and you can even say accuracy. So you need to ensure the security of the transactions while also delivering a seamless, efficient payment experience. To achieve this, you're going to need to have advanced solutions to handle disputes and claims and effectively, without compromising your customer service or operational efficiency. So I mentioned solutions. One of those solutions is our Advanced Dispute Manager, or ADM for short, is what we do here at Quint. It is a cloud-based solution technology that uses machine learning and automation to improve how FIs manage claims. So I would say there's two things here that we really excel at with ADM. The first is we want to have the solution operate harmoniously within your technology infrastructure. So what I mean by that is having the right integrations, being able to ingest data from various sources, and a smooth implementation that doesn't disrupt your existing operation. So these are key deliverables that we provide when FIs are upgrading their solutions. The second thing is organizing and accelerating your investigations. So this is the performance aspect of it. Several automation features capabilities that streamline the claims process, reducing investigation times, organizing the data, and making it easy to access that data, ultimately enhancing customer member satisfaction. With that, there is also an additional component, which we call the human component. A lot of our clients and people we speak with in the industry, they prefer to have someone else handle the day-to-day of processing of claims, but they still want to maintain oversight and the ability to manage and monitor the situation. So for those clients, we have our service desk, which basically allows you to intake the claims, fill out the forms, gather signature, administer provisional credits, send letters, close out disputes, that amongst a variety of other functions. So meanwhile, the FI can monitor the operation, analyze the trends, the reports, the data, and then adjust wherever is needed based on the particular situation. The result of the human component that I mentioned and then also the technology component is you're going to optimize the dispute handling. You're going to manage the claims faster, more accurately, ensure compliance, making sure you're aligned with the regulatory requirements, especially Reg E. And then ultimately, as I mentioned already, enhancing that customer experience, building that trust and winning over your customers.
Why is it important for a financial institution to invest in the next generation of dispute management technology?
Yeah, it's very important right now, Lottie. Car disputes in the U.S. are on a sharp incline. Currently, we have projections indicating a very significant 40% increase by 2026, as per insights by Datos. So these trends highlight an immediate need for financial institutions to adopt that next generation. And you're going to need to mitigate financial risks. You're going to need to streamline the process and automate the entire dispute lifecycle, not just one part of it, but from beginning to end. So I'll talk a little bit about how you need to anticipate and solve for these increasing volumes that we're seeing. You're going to need to accelerate your dispute resolution time. So we talked about this, but to be more specific, you can't have, a large portion of your disputes going past the 45-day mark. Once those volumes start to increase and you're constantly being pushed up against 45 days and then constantly asking for a 90-day extension, that's just a recipe for disaster. And you can't be spending so much time on smaller, minor disputes, right? You have to be able to assess kind of what's worth your time and what's not worth your time. You're going to need to be able to manage compliance, a centralized platform to meet the regulatory deadlines and provide your team with the tools to do so. Again, we talked about those, 45-day mark, there's the 10-day mark, all the things that come with managing claims. You're going to need comprehensive data consolidation. Integrate the customer data from multiple sources, provide a unified view that reduces chargeback rates and improves decision making. Ultimately, you're going to be able to present that data in a structured manner. We all have bosses, we all have managers, people that we answer to. You need to eliminate that cluttered data by organizing it and presenting dispute-related information in an easily understandable format for compliance, audit, the board, stakeholders, shareholders, everyone. Please, no more spreadsheets. This is something I hear all the time going to all the different conferences, especially at ABA. We're still using spreadsheets, Edgar. Help us get off these spreadsheets. With the increase that's coming that we're seeing now, we got to move on and be more robust.
So how does a financial institution best utilize dispute management tools that you're describing to optimize their risk strategy and their operations?
Yeah, that's a great question, Lottie. Going back to example for our solution, ADM, what we've done is we've equipped it with several robust features, ad hoc reporting, it has machine learning, and we're utilizing automation. So I'll give you a couple of examples. Ways that you can leverage ADM for the risk strategy. Proactive risk identification and mitigation. So ADM's ad hoc reporting feature enables FIs to identify and deal with potential risks early. Allow them to organize and address the vulnerabilities before they escalate into bigger issues. Again, organized data is key here. Root cause analysis with machine learning. You need to be able to identify where these underlying causes are coming from. Operational errors, is there issues with the payment system, inefficiencies, fraudulent activities, oftentimes dispute and fraud, those two are very closely linked. And then also customer behavior trends. So these insights will allow you to refine the policy, do the right training for staff, upgrade your system, and ultimately have a more robust risk management and prevention strategy. The last one I'll say is regulatory compliance assurance. We've touched on it a little bit already, but ADM allows you to align with the critical regulations, specifically Reg E, right? You have to have those notifications. You have to know when the deadlines are. You have to be compliant. You have to be able to report that data. And those things change, right? And so again, your solution needs to be able to change, with the regulatory environment. So some of the key outcomes is that when you're able to utilize the capabilities of that next generation software like our ADM, you're going to build a secure and customer-focused environment. You'll be able to proactively address the risks with data-driven strategies, minimize that high value recurring disputes, the ones that you constantly see, and obviously ensure the compliance and operational efficiency. I do want to add one last piece. I touched on it just a little bit here. There is a fraud component to disputes. With our solution, ADM, I will talk about it a little bit. We have our AFM solution, which stands for Advanced Fraud Manager. Some of our clients use both, use 2-in-1, or they use it primarily for disputes, but it also has fraud capabilities, or vice versa. They use it for fraud, but it also has dispute capabilities. I want to say this stat here that I think is important. 43% of U.S. financial institutions have reported an increase in fraudulent activities. We've seen an exceptionally high increase in check fraud specifically. You go to any ABA conference, you'll definitely hear check fraud on the lips of all fraud analysts and fraud people alike. Be able to manage that life cycle of the investigation. Again, you have so many different types of fraud, transactional fraud, non-transactional, account fraud, right? Organizational fraud. So all these different types of fraud, you need to have a centralized system, a case management system perhaps, that can put it all into one place, and then you can manage the entire life cycle there. Be able to have the comprehensive audit trail reports, document the regulatory compliance, and then ultimately, once you have that, then you can do all those things that you want to achieve. Identify the trends, identify the fraud tactics, the fraud rings, streamline the process, improve your decisioning. That's ultimately what you want to achieve when looking at fraud and disputes.
Thank you for taking the time to share your insights with us on this really critical topic for bankers. One last question as we wrap up. How can someone get in contact with you for more information?
Absolutely. I think the easiest way to find me is on LinkedIn. First name Edgar, last name Zoltok. A little difficult to spell, but it's a Zholtok. You can also reach me directly at my email, my first name dot last name at us.quintft.com. I also mentioned that we will be at that next ABA conference for community bankers. Please be sure to drop by our booth, 419.
Great. Thanks again. And we also have more about how Quint Financial Solutions can support the business needs of your bank at aba.com. Click on Experts and Peers and then select ABA Partner Network to search the directory. This is the ABA Partner Network podcast. Thanks for listening.